Hello everyone. Today I am going to be checking off something that has been on my to-do list for over back in July. Now it's now December 3rd. So this is going on, let's see if I can do math, almost 5 months, if that's correct, that I said I was going to do this, and I have basically for no good reason just procrastinated and kept putting this off. To be honest, probably because it's a little bit intimidating to actually name or to talk about this. But it's something that I really believe in, and I think that it's very valuable to sit down and identify where it is that you're going and who you need to meet along that journey in order to get there. So I can't remember the first place that I'd heard this, but someone had shared this concept of basically naming the 10 people that you are going to meet on your path to success. The first person is Patrick Lencioni. He is the author of The Advantage, Why Organizational Health Trumps Everything Else in Business. And then he also wrote the book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Both of those books I've read, but probably the biggest reason why I put him as number one on my list is because I think he's a great example of a really well-respected leadership personality that is doing a very good job of living out his personal faith while not letting it overpower his message, but it definitely comes across in everything that he does. And I think he's a great role model and just has a lot of wisdom in the years that he's been talking and writing books. Not to mention he also has a pretty good-sized family, which I admire and respect. The second person on my list is Ryan Holiday. He is the author of 2 books that I have read. The first, The Obstacle is the Way, and the second one, Ego is the Enemy. Both of these books I thought were very well-timed when I read them. I read Obstacle is the Way about 2 or 3 months ago, and after reading that book, it led me to create a video about my dad passing away. Just a really transformative perspective on looking at all the obstacles that you face in your life and trying to see what value there is in that for you personally and how you can take that to the rest of your career in life to positively impact other people. And then Ego is the Enemy is his second book that I just finished reading, and that was another great book to just remind me and anyone else out there that you kind of have to balance the ego part of who we are with the humility and just kind of making a decision on, do you want to be somebody or do you want to do something? And that's the be somebody, I feel like, is what drives and was the ambitious side of who we are and who I am. But there's always a give and take that if you focus too much on who you want to be and it's very inward focused, you end up not really accomplishing that much. And if you can not worry about who gets the credit and focus on what you're trying to accomplish and what greater thing out there that you are going to succeed at in life, you end up being much more impactful and having a bigger influence before you die. So that's why I like Ryan Holiday. The third person I put on here is Gary Vaynerchuk. He's written a number of books, probably one of the more well-known people on my list. But the reason I put him down is because he has just been a very, I always have told people that he doesn't say anything that's remarkably groundbreaking, but he's just very straightforward. And the quotes that you'll see from him are oftentimes like ideas are shit, or just are you ready to bleed from your eyeballs, or just crazy, not very seemingly inspirational quotes. But for me, it helped resonate with just understanding that success is not that difficult and reaching who you want to be is not that difficult. It really just comes down to, do you want to put in the work to get there? And whatever just one thing that always comes to mind when I think of Gary Vaynerchuk is understanding that whatever you say you want to do, make sure that your actions are mapping to that. So if you want to be a billionaire, you better be doing the work that it takes to get there, which is a lot. And you're going to have to give up a lot of things in life in order to get there. And if you're happy with being a someone that gets $50,000 a year and is working at just like a kind of a 9 to 5 job and goes home and gets to watch football, that's also fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And your actions in your daily life are going to look far different than someone who's shooting for a much bigger goal. And then the other thing with Gary Vaynerchuk is he's just kind of I don't think there's anybody out there that is putting out as much content as he does on every single social media platform you can imagine. And he's always kind of been someone that I look at and like, man, I need to figure out how to start utilizing Instagram, or maybe I should create this YouTube thing and start documenting the process. And I would actually say that he probably is the reason that I began documenting on this YouTube channel everything that I'm doing in this process of my own career journey and trying to figure out what it is that I am ultimately called to do, or what I ultimately want to do. The fourth person on my list is Cameron Herold. He was the COO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK when they were going through their massive growth stage. He also wrote a book that is very good called Double Double. And if I'm not mistaken, he is also a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization, which I am a member of the Accelerator currently. And his book was also, the one thing I really liked about his book was it's very practical advice, very straightforward. There wasn't a lot of philosophical talk. It was like giving lots of examples of what he has actually done, and then basically providing you the tools to go and better operate your own business. Simon Sinek is the fifth person on my list. I put him on the list because Simon Sinek, to me, actually, to be honest, of all the people that I have listed here, I believe that Simon Sinek is the first person that I ever saw speak, and that was on a YouTube video of a TED Talk that he gave probably, this is when I was back in high school, so at least 10 years ago, I think. But the TED Talk itself is something that has always stuck with me. I've never forgotten about it, and it's called How Great Leaders Inspire Action. I'll make sure to link that so you can take a look and see that video. But it's one of the most watched TED Talks now at this point. Very, very fascinating TED Talk. And he also wrote 2 other books that I have read, which are both fantastic. Start with Why, and then the second book is Leaders Eat Last. And I feel like Simon Sinek, he's kind of made a name for himself and is synonymous with why. So when you think of what is your why, for most people, you immediately think of Simon Sinek, because that's really what he's all about. And I think that's a very important thing to understand when you're going out and trying to start a business or decide on your career path or whatever it is. If you don't know why you're doing it, you're probably either not going to be successful, or you're going to have to figure that out before success often comes. The sixth person on my list is Brad Feld. He's the managing director of the Foundry Group, which is a venture capitalist company, if I'm not mistaken. I first heard of Brad Feld and actually saw him speak at the Bend Venture Conference this year, and I was really fascinated by his persona, but also just kind of his laser focus and just this appearance of just contentment and just like a peacefulness to his attitude, while still understanding and knowing that he's a very driven person that has a lot of goals and has accomplished a lot. And one interesting thing about him was he actually appeared at the Bend Venture Conference via Skype for this speech that he gave to the crowd, because he actually had made a promise to his family that he was not going to be traveling as much as he did in the early days. So I just really respect that a lot. He does a lot of investing and just focusing on things that he personally finds enjoyable and that he's passionate about. The seventh person on my list is Seth Godin. I don't really think that there's a need for an introduction with him. He has written tons and tons of articles, lots of books. The book that I've read from him recently is All Marketers Are Liars. And I think he just is constantly, the thing that I'm really amazed by with him, and I'd love to pick his brain on, is basically how he is able to create so much just really great content. I remember seeing a video from him, I believe, or might have been a part of the book, just the importance of shipping something. and that when you when you're in the creative world, whether it's something that's art or writing or video, or really whatever you do, you have to put constraints on yourself. And at the end of the day, you just got to ship the product and go to the next thing. And you can't get bogged down in procrastinating to try and make something perfect. The eighth person on my list is Jim Collins. He was one of the first books that I listened to, or he wrote one of the first books that I listened to on Audible that was called Good to Great. I think this is probably one of the most popular or most referenced book, at least in the books that I read. Pretty much any business book, I feel like they somehow managed to reference some piece of information or research that Jim Collins did in the book Good to Great. I believe he's also a professor, but just did a fantastic job of identifying how some of the major corporations and companies in America went from really good companies to exceptionally great companies, and identified a number of critical pieces that need to be there as far as personnel, operations, and everything that you can imagine in that world. But I look at Jim Collins as just someone that I feel has really mastered the craft of that niche of business, and he is just very well known and respected in that space. And I know that's not something that comes easy. The ninth person on my list is Brian Tracy, and he is someone that I was actually introduced more recently to, and he's someone that he wrote a book called Action Strategies for Personal Achievement. And he's actually, I feel like I heard that Brian Tracy writes like 40 to 50 books a year, but he just does another person that's at an incredible rate of content creation. He's got tons of courses and videos and training seminars, and I've actually been on his email list now for probably 2 or 3 months, and I feel like I get 2 or 3 emails a day. And for whatever reason, I have not made the jump to actually purchase any of his stuff, but I'm fascinated by looking at all of the content and different courses and things that he has to really help people achieve success in life, business, in their spiritual life, whatever it is. But he's just got a number of very practical courses to help you get there. And then the 10th and final person on my list is Casey Neistat. He is a YouTube personality, has become very popular in the recent years. He does the reason why I almost didn't put him on the list, but then I changed my mind, because to me, Casey Neistat is someone that is constantly looking for ways to push the limits on what is possible, and or like what is comfortable for both him and other people. But I remember vividly a video that I saw of his blog where he was talking about why he was stopping doing a blog every day. And the reason that this is something that has just kind of stuck into my mind is that, and he did a daily vlog that he personally shot and edited every single day for, I believe, over a year. And he got to a point where he actually stopped doing that. And his reason was he had gone and made the decision to make a vlog every day because he was trying to challenge himself to edit and tell a story in a much shorter time frame and actually make that something that would be enjoyable to watch. And when you look at what he does, it looks very effortless, but if you actually analyze the shots and things that he does, it's incredible the amount of just quality that he's able to pack into these vlogs in a very short time frame. But as I was mentioning, he started doing the vlog because he was trying to make himself uncomfortable and do something that he didn't think was possible to do. And that was every single day create another video. And he got to a point where he realized he was comfortable and he had gotten so good at it that it wasn't challenging anymore, and he needed to challenge himself when moving on to the next phase of his work in his life. And he actually shifted to doing a little bit bigger productions, more collaborative work. But I just thought that is something that I personally am obsessed with, is just making yourself uncomfortable, and the idea of like a cold shower or things like that you do for no other reason than to just see if you can do that. Just little challenges for yourself. And I feel like he's someone that not only does that regularly, but has also built a name around himself for just being kind of a daredevil, super talented on a number of different things. And, you know, driving down the road in New York City on a booster board holding a Canon 5D and creating a vlog. He's just an incredible person. And then I have 3 bonus people that I'm just going to throw on there because I would absolutely love to just shake the hand of and or take a picture with these 3 people. And these are, I read the bios of all 3 of these: Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Phil Knight. And the reason that I'm putting those 3 on there is because I feel like I probably would put down Steve Jobs, to be honest, if he was still alive. But I read the bios of all 3 of these people at different points in over the last 4 years of my business, and it was really fascinating and really awesome to hear the perspective of the CEO or the founder of these super, super well-known and probably some of the world's most popular brands, and to hear how many times the company almost didn't exist because of a number of different obstacles and things that they ran into along the way. But it was basically from sheer like grit and determination that they enabled their company to sustain the difficult periods and then ultimately become who they are today. But when you think of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Phil Knight, they're kind of people that are they seem to be at like an unattainable level. There's all this media and buzz around them, and I feel like there's this persona that gets like the persona that the media puts around these people, and the reality is that they're really not that different from you or I. They just have mastered a few very critical things, in my opinion, and that would be just discipline and their time management. And it's those little things and being very laser focused on what you're trying to accomplish that enabled them to just skyrocket past everybody else that was attempting to do similar things in their space. And that's how they have become who they are today. But those are 3 people for me that I would absolutely love to meet. I know that they are probably some of the most difficult people in the world to get a hold of. But I think that they are fascinating and very driven people that have amazing backstories, and they all came from relatively humble beginnings and had a crazy vision and idea that they wanted to achieve, and then they set to work doing that. So those are the list of my 10 people that I'm going to meet in the next 5 to 10 years. And I gave you 3 bonus ones that would be awesome to meet as well.